Hello, my name is Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. This is the care and feeding of a New World Age report for the Gregorian date of September 15th, 2015, and one etz-nob or Flint in the Mayan Zolkin calendar, with Mercury turning retrograde, Saturn returning to Sagittarius, the Sun entering Libra for the Equinox, Pluto turning direct, and the Aries Full Moon and Lunar Eclipse. September 15th is one etz-nob or Flint, and it carries the themes of introspection and reflection, sparks of insight, the self-sacrificing healer, the spiritual warrior, the knife that can be used to heal or harm, duality, right or wrong, good or evil, fear or faith, east or west, feasting or fasting, woman or man, us or them, leaders or followers, and left and right-mindedness. And it reminds me of the story of Chiron, the wounded healer who gave up his immortality so Prometheus could be freed from the eternal bondage of being chained to a rock and having an eagle devour his liver by day and then having it regenerate by night, which was his punishment for bringing fire to humans, the spark that comes from Flint. Flint makes us aware of the illusion of our separateness so that we can transcend duality, to realize that our minds say we are this and that, but our hearts say that we just are. Boundaries are a construct of the mind. In Lakesh, I am another you. And before we get into the daily energy for one etz-nob or Flint on the 15th, all the planets appear to be moving forward from our vantage point on the Earth, except for Chiron, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, which appear to move retrograde or in reverse motion. Remember, the themes of retrograde planets are a review of the past, reevaluate, reminisce, and we can see these themes being played out. Chiron retrograde in Pisces is about releasing stuck emotional energy so that we can return to the natural flow of life. Retrograde Chiron has us reviewing our wounds so that they can be released by having the courage to open our hearts to any fear or pain associated with the past. When Chiron is in Pisces, people are willing to sacrifice their individual pain in hopes of finding bliss in universal consciousness. At worst, this can manifest as justifying their victimhood as some form of martyrdom. This should be transcendence and surrender without losing ourselves in the experience. Uranus in Aries retrograde until December 26. Uranus seeks to shake the very foundation through the unexpected rebellion of the individual. Retrograde Uranus in Aries will have people wanting to hurry the process of getting free, to push the river of revolution, whether it be personal or political. Neptune retrograde is seeking transcendence through spiritual experiences. This is a time to use spiritual practices to keep us grounded as we expand our intuition and consciousness. Both Neptune and Pisces, the sign it rules, tend to be dreamy, imaginative, difficult to nail down due to their qualities of illusion and illumination, often without knowing which is which. They represent compassion and codependence, selflessness and loss of self, higher purpose and substance abuse, in their inspiration to transcend the material plane and experience something beyond words and thoughts. And when Pluto, the planet of transformation through a death and rebirth cycle, which is about, again, reviewing the past, releasing anything from the past that is a burden to our new path. Pluto in Capricorn is determined in exposing the darkness, destroying the old order so that we can rise up like the phoenix and soar again. Capricorn is about large structures, which includes banks, governments, corporations, and religions. Pluto in Capricorn is going to be in Capricorn until 2023, where it's destroying and regenerating the structures that are the foundation of our societies, represented by Capricorn. This is a time of a cosmic course correction for the entire planet. We cannot continue to harm Mother Earth for the economic gain of a few. And really the big change in the one Flint Trisena is Mercury changing directions as it moves retrograde on the 17th. and then it will be turning direct on October 9th. So for the end of the month, this would be a good time to avoid signing contracts or other legal papers or making any major purchases or even taking a new job. If you can postpone these types of activities, the terms will be much clearer after Mercury is moving direct. That may seem impossible, so if you can avoid these activities a few days before and after Mercury is changing directions on the 17th and then again on October 9th, when the energy is at its most potent, it would be very beneficial. Mercury retrograde forces us to slow down and pay more attention in our lives by making us focus on the details of our daily experience. When looking at the retrograde cycle of any of the inner planets or personal planets, it provides information about a correction to our present course. And during this report period, we have Mercury traveling through the first stage of the retrograde process since August 8th. And so there's really two important points to be aware of in looking at the cycle. There is the point where the planet appears to be moving backwards, and then it's the point where it begins to move forwards again. The first stage is the shadow stage, between passing 0 degrees of Libra, the point where the planet will eventually begin moving forward again, and the point where the planet slows, stops, and begins moving in reverse at 15 degrees Libra. And during the first stage, we receive information about needing to adjust our direction. The second stage is the actual retrograde phase, and this is a time to watch the events that occur related to the information that we received during the first stage. And then the third stage begins when Mercury begins moving forward again until it crosses the line where it originally turned retrograde. And during the third stage, we move forward with a revision to our previous course. And we entered into the first stage for Mercury on August 8th. And so from then until the 17th, we'll note this is a time when we receive information about an adjustment that needs to be made in our lives. And then Mercury retrograde from the 17th until October 9th. This is a time when we notice events that shift our thinking. And then from October 9th to October 24th, we're in the third stage where we implement the change in direction from the awareness gain through experiencing this process. And if you look at the house of your astrology chart that contains 0 to 15 degrees of Libra, you can find the theme that where you will experience revisions, reviews, and rethinkings of the characteristics represented by that house. For me, Mercury is going to be moving backward and back and forth in my 5th house of children and creativity. So I expect this cycle to provide new information about my creative process and perhaps my relationships with children. No matter where Mercury retrograde occurs in your chart, this often leads to changing choices, goals, or directions. In the world, look for the themes of completion through intellectual review of the past, particularly related to communications about topics like balance, fairness, indecision, and relationships, while Mercury moves through Libra. All of the Mercury retrogrades in 2015 have been in air signs: Aquarius, Gemini, and finally now Libra. As we begin September, Mercury slows down as it turns retrograde at 15 degrees Libra on the 17th. When a planet slows down to a stop from our perspective here on the Earth, the planet is considered to be at its peak of its power. So Mercury, and here we are at the Earth. And Mercury at the peak of the power reminds me that the Greek god Hermes, who was later renamed Mercury, was the trickster god. He was the messenger of the gods, and if you weren't on his good side, you might not get the message, or it might be altered to mean something different than what was intended. And in mythology, a trickster is a god, goddess, woman, man, animal, or spirit that creates mischief by playing tricks and acting outside of the accepted rules of their community. And I want to share this quote from Joseph Campbell. Almost all non-literate mythology has a trickster hero of some kind, and there's a very special property in the trickster. He always breaks in just as the unconscious does to trip up the rational situation. He's both a fool and someone who is beyond the system. The trickster represents all those possibilities in your life that your mind hasn't decided it wants to deal with. The mind structures a lifestyle, and the fool or trickster represents another whole range of possibilities. He doesn't respect the values you've set up for yourself and smashes them. The fool is the breakthrough of the absolute into the field of controlled social order, and that is also a great description of Mercury retrograde. It also contains a formula for confronting a more powerful foe through being cunning over fighting the foe on the foe's terms. So let's look at the daily vibrational energy of the Trickster. September 15th is one etz-nob or Flint, which is about unity being experienced through introspection in the Mayan Soul King calendar. I'm not going to be covering the daily lunar activity in these reports other than new and full moons, but that information is available on the New World Birth Daily Facebook post and also on the blogger New World Birth blog. The 16th is Tu Kawak or storm, which is duality experienced through recognizing the gifts in adversity. September 17th is 3 Ahau or sun, which is about taking action through honoring the wisdom and memory of our ancestors, with Mercury turning retrograde at 15 degrees, 53 minutes, almost 16 degrees of Libra. And even folks who don't follow astrology are aware of Mercury retrograde's effect on communication, technology, and travel. This begins a time that shifts the information below the surface with a focus on relationships in the sign of the scales. From the 17th until October 9th would be a good time, again, to avoid signing contracts or other legal papers, making major decisions or purchases, or even taking a new job. And as I said before, the terms are going to be much more clear after Mercury is moving direct. The retrograde cycle provides information about a change to our cosmic course. Being flexible is a key to adapting to the ever-shifting information of Mercury in Libra. And those with a high need for control will be especially challenged. Basically, the messenger reviewing the past and the sign of the scales is about finding balance in thinking and conversations related to relationships, whether they are romantic, social, business, or financial. Also on the 17th, we've got Saturn moving into Sagittarius, which delays success until perseverance and patience are learned. Sagittarius themes are travel, education, adventure, publishing, the media, religion, dogma, expanding our horizons, and being optimistic based on fantasy. Ruled by Jupiter representing faith, confidence, and abundance, Sagittarius represents responsibility. Sagittarius resists responsibility and confinement, seeking to remain free. This brings a focus on discovering new ideas, philosophy, being in the right place in the right time, and the overall quality of optimism. Saturn brings details to the grand overview of Sagittarius. The proverb, "He who travels slowly travels far and gets there safely," is a great description of Saturn in Sagittarius. Sag rules higher education, and Saturn brings hardship. So folks may find that they're educated in the school of hard knocks. The happy wanderer is seeking the big picture, and Saturn fills in the details. And then with Pluto in Capricorn, and Saturn moving out of Scorpio, where they had mutual reception. Mutual reception is when the planets are in each other's signs. When Saturn was in Scorpio, it was in the sign of Pluto, and Pluto in Capricorn is in the sign of Saturn. And so with Saturn moving out of Scorpio into Sagittarius, it means that mutual reception no longer protects those entities. Saturn will eventually square Neptune in Pisces, which will further dissolve structures and rules. You might want to recall what was going on in your life between November of 1985 and February of 1988, when Saturn was last in Sagittarius, to consider how this shift might affect you over the next few years. Saturn is likely to create limitations and fears that could affect the stock market, the media, colleges and universities, and travel, particularly air travel, while in Sagittarius. The positive way to work with Saturn and Sag is to plan, to work hard to accomplish your dreams. Take responsibility while delaying personal gratification to reach greater accomplishment. And then also on the 17th, it's a busy day, we've got Jupiter opposing by Neptune. So from our perspective here on the Earth, this is a 180-degree angle between the co-rulers of Pisces, which makes it difficult to distinguish the real from the ideal. And this can be a very spiritual transit, as it brings expansion to the ideal, with reality seeming inadequate. People may find themselves contemplating abstract concepts that are difficult to realize on the material plane. This is best addressed through spiritual practices, although some will turn to alcohol or drugs as a vehicle to bring escape. Extreme optimism is an aspect of this influence and can lead to unrealistic risk-taking that could lead to the loss of resources. Unless you're naturally lucky in gambling, I would avoid making any wild investments under this influence. Relationships that begin under this transit will be very idealistic, where the other seems to be godlike or at least guru-like, which may not be correct. Deception is strong, is a strong possibility at this time. And on the 17th, we've got a great deal of activity with Mercury turning retrograde and Saturn moving into Sagittarius, and the Jupiter-Neptune opposition, which is likely to bring confusion due to so much planetary action on a single day. So staying grounded and slow to make important decisions while there is so much change affecting us would be helpful during this time period, particularly, before and after September 17th, a few days before and after. You'd benefit from just, waiting on those topics. On the 18th, we've got 4 Emish, or crocodile, in the Mayan Soul King calendar, which is stability through nurturing new beginnings. September 19th is 5 Ek, or wind, empowerment through communication. The 20th is 6 Akbal, or night, being in the flow through contemplating the stars. September 21st is 7 Khan, or seed, reflection through planting seeds and making new connections in the Mayan Soul King calendar. The 22nd is 8 Chichan, or serpent, balance through being flexible. September 23rd is 9 Kimi, or transformation. Patience experienced through releasing what no longer serves us, as we have the sun entering into Libra. And I do have this chart set up for the equinox. With the sun in Libra, which brings our transition to the next season with the equinox. Equinoxes and solstice astrology charts give us an insight into the upcoming season. And we've got the sun in a tight sextile, or a 90-degree angle, with Saturn, which can bring self-discipline to the coming season based on being practical and following a well-thought-out plan. We've also got Venus in a trine to Uranus, 120-degree angle from our perspective here on the Earth, which brings influence to engage in unexpected and stimulating activities related to social, romantic, and financial endeavors. And then, of course, we've got Jupiter opposing Neptune in the equinox chart, expanding spiritual illumination or illusion, often without the ability to determine which is which. We also have Mercury in a square, a 90-degree angle to Pluto in the equinox chart, bringing transformation to communication and cognition. And these planetary transits are found in the equinox chart on the 23rd as the sun moves into Libra, which is the sign of the sun's fall, which means the sun is debilitated in the sign of the scales. As folks develop personal courage and become less dependent on the opinions of others, the Librian will lose the vacillation and hesitation for which the sign is so well known, and become an authority, the sun, in issues of justice and fairness. Libra, prepared to take responsibility. Saturn, for the consequences of their actions. Libra, through embracing opportunities, Jupiter, to make unexpected changes personally and politically. Uranus. North of the equator, this is a time to review the intentions that were planted during the spring equinox. And south of the equator, this is a time to plant new intentions for the upcoming year. Also on the 23rd, we've got Venus in a trine to Uranus, again, 120-degree angle from our perspective here on Earth, which wants social experiences and romantic encounters to be outside of the norm, unusual and surprising. This is a great day to try something out of the ordinary, a day the daily routine just won't cut it under this influence. Folks are looking to do something stimulating in their social lives and relationships. It's a day where there may be unique encounters and love relationships that begin under this influence, are exciting, electric, unstable, and short, but have a strong potential to change our lives. Experiencing different types of entertainment is also favored by this transit, by enjoying music, art, or theater that's outside of your normal choices. And then also on the 23rd, the sun sextiles Saturn. So from our perspective here on the Earth, the sun and Saturn are at a 60-degree angle, which is a great day for getting things done. It brings an orderly state of mind with a strong sense of self-discipline. This is practical energy that is not interested in idealistic or abstract considerations that have no application in daily life. This favors all matters related to work or profession, and what is accomplished being done carefully and wonderfully, with wonderful concentration and attention to detail, which may impress authority figures. Advice from older people is also favored under this transit. It's not the best day for relaxing because it can be a little serious in its frame of mind. And then on the 24th, we have 10, Manique or deer, manifestation through being of service to others, as Mars moves into Virgo. So on the day of service, Mars moves into the sign of service, being Virgo, for a stay until November 12th, which brings organization and systemization to our drive at work or in service. This also can bring a coolness and expression of sexual energy, but under the surface, there's an idealization of both rapturous physical connections and exciting mental exchanges. Overall, Mars's desire and passion is reined in while in Virgo. Also on the 24th, Mercury is in a square to Pluto, again, a 90-degree angle from our perspective here on the Earth. And this is the second time due to Mercury being retrograde, which may have folks obsessing about some thought or idea. So it's important in conversations with others to be open to their viewpoints and not forceful about getting them to agree to our beliefs. This may be a time where we experience one thought that dominates the day and leaves little room for anything else. This energy can easily provoke arguments over things that won't seem important in a few days. If you use this energy to explore your inner world, it can bring light to something that was hidden in the depths of our psyches. Great energy for studying subjects that deal with covert or hidden aspects such as psychology, magic, or the occult, as well as meditation or yoga to unveil the possibilities of human potential. September 25th is 11, Lamont or Star or Rabbit, resolution through being grateful for abundant relationships. And at this point, Pluto turns direct in Capricorn, which slowly shifts the energy of the planet of death and rebirth and transformation from our inner experience during the retrograde period to the outer world as it continues to destroy the decaying Capricorn structures of government, big business, and big religion. Pluto is affecting many of us as it changes directions at 12 degrees of Capricorn, which is a time of increasing intensity and force when superficiality will not be enough. This is particularly intense for people with personal planets at 12 degrees of Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn. Pluto at the peak of its power due to its lack of movement as it changes direction. This can be a destructive energy that needs to fulfill its purpose as transformation. It's best to hold lightly or let go if needed. Surrender that which has outlived its purpose. And then also on the 25th, we have Mars in a square to Saturn. So from our perspective here on the Earth, this is a 90-degree angle, which is best approached slowly and with caution. Carelessness under this transit leaves little hope of success, and it indicates a very frustrating and potentially irritating time. This transit will affect us a few days before and after the 25th with frustration when we push too hard and are stressed with not enough time to get everything done or act aggressively. You know, think about Saturn as stop and Mars as go, so the square is conflicted and can seem discouraging, but of course is temporary. And then on the 26th, we have 12 Maluk, or offering, which is understanding through appreciating all of creation in the Mayan Soul King calendar. September 27th is 13 Ak, or dog, movement to the next stage through enjoying family and friends. And we have the Aries full moon and lunar eclipse is being supported by Saturn, opposed by the Sun and Mercury, squared by Pluto, merging with Uranus. Full moons are a time of tension, as the Sun in Libra is about balancing the needs of those we have relationships with, and our own personal emotional needs as individuals represented by the moon in Aries. Eclipses intensify the experience, especially on the part of the globe where they can be observed. The Aries moon eclipse limits the drive for individuality in favor of the sun in Libra shining on harmony and the need to be nice. The moon finding support from Saturn, people settle into a more sober and realistic view of life. Opposed by Mercury, some will feel conflict between either internally or with another. The moon challenged by Pluto affects folks in having the compulsion to act in ways that it will not be good for us in the long run, but can also help us to look inside and find what we want in any situation, as long as we're honest with ourselves. Be cautious of power struggles, as people will easily slip into the role of victim or perpetrator. Merging with Uranus, people feel impulsive, acting rashly, with the moods changing quickly and unexpectedly. Since the moon is very close to the Earth in being an orb of perigee, this is a supermoon. The moon is also within 4 degrees of a conjunction to the moon's south node, bringing a very powerful eclipse. The nodes represent fate and destiny, so this could bring an event or lesson that will influence for many years to come. This is also the final of the tetrad, or 4 consecutive total lunar eclipses that began back on April 15th of last year. And a longtime NASA expert, Fred Espenak, said that the most unique thing about the 2014-2015 tetrad is that all of them are visible in all or parts of the United States. And then, so if you're able to view this lunation, the moon turns sunset red for about an hour or more as the eclipse unfolds. And of course, being that it's a supermoon, it's going to be a really big moon in that bright red color if you're lucky enough to observe it. No matter what energies are affecting you during the one Flint Trisena, take some time to be in the flow of the planet by being in nature, watching a sunrise or a sunset, communing with the stars, being conscious of the moment through introspection, meditation, or being with somebody you truly love. Every day we have is a blessing, no matter what dramas beckon to distract us. We're all here just giving a performance of a lifetime on this world stage. Just take some time to observe the play as well as act your part. Remember, you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the care and feeding of a new world age will be on September 28th for one Shuin, or monkey, with Venus returning into Virgo, and Mercury turning direct. You can check us out on Facebook, YouTube, or the Mayan Magics website. And I encourage you to share this information as video or as text as widely as you choose. And as always, I encourage you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you've got any questions or wish to schedule a reading. And I am providing readings and wish to make this service to the greatest amount of folks. So I have created 3 options with 3 levels of compensation. So if you've been thinking about getting a reading during these uncertain times, please contact me. You'll need to be able to either call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. And again, emailing me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com. I'll get back to you and let you know how to make a donation or get a reading. The readings I offer are epic. They go 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours. They, in order to really describe to you who you are with the human design reading, and then At the higher 2 levels of compensation, I get into the astrology transits to really help you understand what's going on in this phase of your life, according to the transits in astrology. So human design helps you to understand the character, and then the astrology transit helps you to understand what are the scenes of the play or movie that character is experiencing. As always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries and their application during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, in Lakesh, and a great gratitude to you, and I hope to connect with you in the future, either in a video or a reading, or send me an email if you've got a question. All my best to everybody.